So for more on the team, we welcome in the voice of the Minnesota Timberwolves, Benz. Thanks for taking the time. This is a team, though, that was held to a season-low 84 points Friday. Apart from the obvious, which is the Celtics being excellent defensively, what is it that gets this team going on the offensive end?
Well, really, when they're sharing the basketball is when they're at their best, and when they're forcing turnovers, which they've done at a high rate so far this season. The one knock is they probably should be even better offensively, because a lot of times they force the turnover and they don't reward themselves with the points off the mistake by the other team. But that really has been where they've been at their best. Three-point shooting has been a detriment to this team. There have been times when Andrew Wiggins has had a hot hand, but more often than not, he's really struggled, and so it's been a collective effort. That's been the one thing that they're probably going to really need to address in the second half of the season if they're really going to be real players to finish in the top half of the Western Conference and have home court advantage in the first round of the playoffs. But it's been fun to watch, and the defense has been better, guys. The last 8 games, they're top 5 in the league in defensive efficiency. So the Tom Thibodeau imprint that he's been trying to put on this team since he arrived a year and a half ago is finally starting to show up a little bit with what we're seeing on the floor.
And I love that point that you're making there, Dave. So it takes me to my next question. With all the new faces, new system, new imprint, when did this team really start to believe and say, you know what, we have enough pieces, we should compete to go deep in the West?
Well, I think we're starting to see that, and the bottom line is Jimmy Butler has put this team on his back, and I don't know that he's getting enough love. The first round of All-Star voting, he was 10th in the Western Conference at his position, and I mean, I looked at the Eastern Conference, and no knock on Enes Kanter, but he had almost as many votes as Jimmy Butler, and watching Jimmy Butler night in and night out, guys, I mean, he's an MVP candidate. Clearly, he's not the leader in the clubhouse for the MVP right now, but if he's not at least in the conversation, you're making a mistake. He's been that good. He has done everything that this team has needed, and he has really started to rub off on the other guys around him in terms of what it takes to win, what it takes to be able to have that mental toughness late in games, which is what was so evident that this team was lacking before they brought him in. I mean, last year they blew so many leads late in games, and this year they've been a lot better getting games to the finish line. It has been because of what Jimmy has done in terms of making plays, and also because of the way he's rubbed off on the rest of his teammates.
Dave, the numbers are one thing, but have Wiggins and Towns made the adjustment to having a guy like Jimmy Butler in the locker room, in that mix, on the court late in games with the ball in his hands? How have they adjusted their games to accommodate Jimmy Butler?
It took a little while, and I think part of it was Jimmy really made the sacrifice early. If you take a look at like the 10-game splits, 20 after 20 games, after 30 games, the numbers for Jimmy just got more and more. But when he first got here this season, he kind of deferred to Andrew. He deferred to Karl Anthony Towns, and he wanted to figure out what his role was. And it took a little bit of time for those guys to figure it out together. But I think that Andrew and especially Karl have figured out, hey, the bottom line is individual stats are great, but they're not what are going to get you wins in the NBA. So they've sacrificed a little bit. Towns is no longer the scoring leader on this team. He was through about the first 30, 35 games. Jimmy recently took that over from him and is now the leading scorer on the team. I don't think Karl cares one bit. The bottom line is he wants to win. Andrew's scoring is clearly way down, and Andrew has made some sacrifices, but he's also had some struggles. He's probably been the guy that has struggled more in adjusting to it a little bit, but we're all hopeful that Andrew is going to be able to get that together and find his scoring touch a little bit. And at the end of the day, when he's your third option, that's a pretty good third option to have offensively.
The Pelicans, though, have won 3 in a row on the road. What's the key to snapping that streak?
I think the key is you've got to figure out a way, first of all, to keep Karl Anthony Towns on the floor. Timberwolves won each of the first 2 meetings against the Pelicans, but Cat got in foul trouble in both of those games. So you've got to make sure that he doesn't get in early foul trouble tonight, because they're clearly going to need him to stay on the floor to contend with those couple of bigs. You're going to have to defend the three-point line really well, because this New Orleans Pelicans team, they can really light it up. Drew Holiday has been fantastic. Etuan Moore leading the league in three-point percentage, and then Boogie likes to go out and shoot some as well. So they're going to have to play a full 48 minutes against a team that loves to push the pace, and that's the thing that really scares me about this game tonight. The Timberwolves are playing their 5th game in 7 days. So much for eliminating the 5-game and 7-night stretch. They're playing their 5th game in 7 days since New Year's Eve a week ago. The Pelicans are only playing their 2nd, and the Timberwolves are also finishing their 3rd back-to-back set tonight in the last 11 days. So this is a team that's a little bit tired. They've traveled a lot. New Orleans has been here since Wednesday night. So I look for the Pelicans to get out and try to push the pace early. Alvin Gentry downplayed that, though, a few minutes ago before the game tonight. I asked him about it. He said he thinks that's the most overrated thing ever. And at the end of the day, the Timberwolves have young legs. They have players that want to get up and down the floor. So he's not sure how much of an advantage that can be here tonight for New Orleans.
Well, you lead me right down the path, Dave, this next question. We know Tibbs' history. You just said 7 games. There's really no days off. When is that starting to wear on a young team? Because we know Tibbs don't believe in days off. Does Jimmy Butler and Taj Gibson help this young team not you know where I'm going, Dave.
Yeah, I think that the youth really is on the Timberwolves side still right now. And, Taj is obviously the elder statesman out of the entire group. But if you ask Taj, he doesn't want to come off the floor. Jimmy doesn't want to come off the floor. Certainly Carl and Andrew don't want to come off the floor. So none of these guys are complaining. It's funny because all the national media, all you hear people talk about is, Tibbs is playing these guys too many minutes. And at what point is it going to be a detriment to the team? You ask any of these guys in the locker room, there's not a single one of them that is saying I'm playing too many minutes and I want to play less. So I don't think it's as big of an issue within that locker room, and at the end of the day, that's the only opinion that really matters.
Dave, with injuries and all the different things that can go on in a given month in this season, 17 games in January for the Timberwolves, league high. How much will this month test the depth of this roster?
Yeah, I don't even think it's necessarily the quantity as much as it is the quality. I mean, this stretch that the Timberwolves are starting right now, they've got a 5-game homestand in New Orleans tonight that right now is a playoff team, winning record. Then you got Cleveland coming in. You got Oklahoma City. They're going to see Toronto on this homestand. So it's going to be a lot tougher sledding for the Wolves, not only in terms of the quantity but the quality. And this has been a team so far this season that has proven they can win big games. They've beaten Oklahoma City twice already this year. I think that they're going to give a great effort tonight against New Orleans, a team that they've beaten already twice this year. But they've also proven they can lose to the Phoenix Suns on their home floor, a Suns team that didn't have Devin Booker in the lineup earlier this year. They just lost in Brooklyn the other night against the Nets team that has played better at home. But at the end of the day, the Timberwolves probably should have taken care of business in that game. So I'm looking more at the quality and whether or not this team really is as good as they're standing right now in the Western Conference shows. And I think that we're going to find out this month for sure. But at the end of the day, you look at their record, and you're talking about a team that hasn't been to the playoffs in 13 consecutive years. And we're kind of starting to do the math here a little bit, guys. If they could go 500 the rest of the way, which everybody here is hoping it's better than 500, but if they go 500 the rest of the way, it's a 46-win season, and they're going to break that playoff drought. And I think 500 would be subpar for this team with the level of expectation that they've set so far.
I just want to know if Karl Anthony Towns actually eats 10 pancakes a day, because I read that he eats 10 pancakes a day. Does he actually eat 10 pancakes a day?
I'm not informed on Karl Anthony Towns' pancake diet, but now I have a new question I have to ask him. But if he does, he's definitely getting in enough cardio to wear it off, because it's not showing, that's for sure.
Also ask how much cardio you have to get in order to start eating.
That's a lot of syrup too, Dave. That's a lot of syrup.
It's a lot of time on the treadmill.